During my woodworking live stream, my drunk roommate kept pestering me for a kiss. I bit my lip tightly, trying hard to hold my bottom line. Not right now, really. I haven't finished yet. He reached out and tried to undo my pants. Then let me go first. You promised to reward me yesterday. The next day, the entire internet exploded. I went completely crazy. Chapter 1. During my most cash-strapped year, I started live streaming my wood carving in my dorm to earn some living expenses. My 2 local roommates found me bothersome and both moved back home. Living alone was actually peaceful and comfortable. Until Edmund, notorious in school for his bad temper, transferred into our dorm room. Gavin, who lives next door and streams similar content, heard about it and came over specifically to warn me. He had to switch dorms because he got into a fight with his previous roommate. You better stay out of his way. If anything happens, knock on the wall. You hear me? I took his words to heart. Ever since I was little, because I looked rather delicate and didn't like to talk, I never really had any friends. It wasn't until Gavin held my hand with a look of pity that I realized liking boys wasn't something shameful. When Edmund didn't speak, he looked ice cold. For the first 3 days after he moved in, I was so scared I didn't even dare to stream. My few fans came to ask me, Mama2, why haven't you been streaming lately? My streaming ID was MOBOODOW2, can't touch the head. And some fans just affectionately called me Mama2, Pat Pat. I didn't mind. Because of the wood carving, I had hoarded a lot of wood and quite a few delivery boxes in the dorm. My previous roommates complained I had too much stuff and even threw my things away while I was out. I had once braved the rain to dig my usable items back out of the dumpster. Edmund looked so unapproachable. What if I streamed tomorrow and he found me annoying? I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. Finally, gritting my teeth, I knocked on Edmund's bed board. He pulled back the curtain between us and looked up at me. I had heard before that he was handsome, and that the line of girls chasing him in school was longer than the line for the cafeteria. Seeing him today, he truly lived up to his reputation. Don't hit on straight guys, that was the rule Gavin taught me. I pinched my thigh, trying my best to keep my voice from trembling. I'll be streaming in the dorm for 2 hours tomorrow, but I promise I'll be very quiet. I'll definitely finish before 10 o'clock. Is that okay? Edmund licked his lips, his face betraying no emotion. Do whatever you want. I'm not sleeping here tomorrow. I breathed a huge sigh of relief. Hiding under my covers, I typed out a reply to my fan word by word. Streaming tomorrow. The other side replied with a good night. I didn't reply again, because I fell asleep the moment I put my phone down. And I even dreamed about Edmund. The next day, blushing as I went to the bathroom, I ran smack into the man himself. He had just finished washing his face. The ends of his hair were wet and dripping, and water droplets clung to his collarbone and swayed as he moved. Blushing and feeling guilty, I hastily averted my eyes. By the time I came out, he was already gone. When my stream ended the next day, Edmund still hadn't returned. I sent a message to Gavin. If you dream about a man, what does that mean? Wearing his slippers, Gavin kicked open the dorm door. Charles, you finally caught on. Tell me, who is this wild man? As soon as he finished speaking, Edmund appeared right behind him. He was wearing a gray hoodie with the hood resting loosely on his head, making his jawline look even sharper and colder. His eyes narrowed slightly. Wild man. I hurriedly covered Gavin's mouth and dragged him outside. In the past, I lived alone in the dorm, so Gavin was used to being loud and careless. Seeing Edmund appear, he was startled too, asking me in lingering fear. I forgot you're not like me. You're terrified of people finding out. What do we do? Will Edmund tell everyone? I patted his shoulder and comforted him. It's fine. Don't worry. He doesn't look like a busybody. I was blushing and feeling guilty, but it wasn't because I was afraid of Edmund knowing I liked guys. I was afraid that Edmund would find out the wild man in my mind was him. Any straight guy would probably feel creeped out by something like that. I sent Gavin back to his dorm. By the time I returned, Edmund had already gotten into bed, his black curtains pulled tightly shut. I lay in bed, afraid to fall asleep, terrified I would dream about him again. Just then, my phone vibrated. The fan E, who had said goodnight to me yesterday, sent a private message. Are you dating someone? I replied with a question mark. Besides Gavin knowing a little bit, I hadn't told a single soul. He replied instantly. You were humming during your stream today. Being told this, I realized it seemed to be true. When I stream, the camera is usually only pointed at the workbench, showing my hands at most. I rarely speak, and humming was something I had never done before. Falling in love at first sight with a straight guy, Does this kind of fruitless, one-sided crush count as dating? I hesitated for a long time before typing a few words. Keep it a secret. Thud. A muffled sound came from Edmund's bed. I quickly sat up and directly pulled open his curtain. Are you okay? Edmund was shirtless, his back facing me. His broad shoulders and narrow waist very prominent. I gripped the bed curtain tightly, slowly closing it until only half my face was exposed. So useless. My heart was pounding so hard I felt like I was going to get a nosebleed. Edmund frowned, looking faintly displeased. I'm fine. You know we can't bring outsiders into the dorm, right? Only then did I realize that he had understood Gavin's words, and this was him making a concession for me, meaning it was okay if I liked guys, but I couldn't bring anyone back to the room. He was so nice. What was I going to do? This only made me like him even more. Gavin was right. Sure enough, everyone has to suffer their own straight guy tribulation. Chapter 2. Over the next few days, perhaps to keep an eye on me, Edmund returned to the dorm very early. Streaming right in front of him, I was a bit embarrassed at first. Later, I realized he was just sitting beside me playing games, so I slowly loosened up. Sometimes, when my hands were full, I even gathered the courage to ask him to hand me things. Some fans heard his voice and asked in the live chat, "So sweet, did your assistant guy just ask if you wanted water? OMG, two handsome guys. I'm so here for this." I choked and started coughing. Edmund, my assistant. Hearing the noise, Edmund put down his phone and patted my back. What's the rush? The chat started spamming again, so I quickly muted my microphone. I'm fine. I didn't disturb you, did I? Edmund's hand rested on the back of my neck. I never said you were being loud. There was a thin layer of calluses on his palm. Pressing against the soft flesh at the back of my neck, it brought a faint, thrilling sensation. I hurriedly shrank my neck back. If he kept pressing me like this, my stream today would be ruined. With the audio muted, the chat became even more unrestrained. What are you guys doing? Getting affectionate already? What is it that we can't see? Are you really treating us like outsiders? I hastily ended the stream. If Edmund saw these, he'd probably kick me out. I was distracted. After logging off, I spent over an hour sanding and finishing a small wood-carved kitten. I placed it on Edmund's desk as an apology gift. The next day during class, Edmund uncharacteristically sat right next to me. Even though we shared a few general education classes, we never greeted each other outside the dorm, let alone sat together. Edmund opened his book without looking at me. I got the kitten. Thanks. Gavin's head shot up. What kitten? Why didn't I get one? I quickly shoved his head back down and said to Edmund, You're welcome. My streaming has bothered you quite a bit. Edmund tugged at his hood, twirling his pen with his fingertips, looking straight into my eyes. I said, It doesn't bother me. He really was just too nice. I was an orphan from a young age. My mom passed away not long after giving birth to me. I grew up with my grandfather and got bullied a lot, being called a wild child or a sissy, getting pinned down and beaten in alleys. These were all commonplace for me. Aside from Edmund, it seemed no one had ever treated me this well before. My eyes grew hot, and the words blurted out, Then I'll make you another one tomorrow. Edmund didn't say yes, nor did he say no. But that very night, he pulled up a stool, sat next to me, and started doing wood carving looking like a pro. Edmund picked a scrap piece of wood and patiently sanded it bit by bit. He learned quickly, and I couldn't help but praise him. You're amazing. The chat immediately flooded the screen. Hubby is so amazing. What's going on? I missed a few days and I missed this much. I quickly cleared the chat, terrified Edmund would see. But Edmund just stared at me, blinked, and leaned in close. Then, Teacher Charles, where's my reward? No joke. I had that dream again that night. The next day, I didn't even go to my large lecture class. I stayed in the dorm, reciting a calming mantra to myself 3 times over. When I nodded and agreed yesterday, my mind was entirely blank. I felt light, like I was walking on cotton. It wasn't until the evening that my feet felt like they were truly touching the ground again. It was already 9 o'clock, and Edmund still hadn't returned. A message popped up in the large group chat, and only then did I learn that their basketball team was having a dinner gathering today, and many people went. In the photo, Edmund was surrounded in the middle. His cheeks were red, clearly having drank quite a bit, and he was letting a female underclassman cling to his arm. I stared at it, zoning out. My entire day of reciting calming mantras had been for nothing. I tossed my carving knife aside, just preparing to end the stream early, when Edmund stumbled and pushed the door open. The loose hair on his forehead hung down, and his eyes were wet, looking like he had just been fished out of the water. I didn't even dare glance at him. Edmund swayed and slumped into his chair. My heart beat fast and erratically. I simply sat back down, taking a file to the ears of a rabbit woodcarving almost masochistically. The chat rolled by quickly. Oh my god, so much energy. The assistant is already like this. If you don't go for it, you're not a man. To the person above, what if it's purely platonic friendship? Saying that isn't very nice. My hands didn't stop moving as I corrected them word by word. He's not my assistant. He's my roommate. Please don't spread rumors, everyone. Edmund was already so drunk he had almost lost his reason. I don't know which of my words triggered him. He shakily stood up and pulled me over, chair and all. I was suddenly pulled out of the camera's frame, and I explained in a slight panic. I haven't ended the stream yet, but drunks have no logic. Edmund let go of his grip and collapsed into my arms, muttering repeatedly. Where's the reward? Reward me. The phone not far away was still live streaming. I bit my lip hard. Not right now, really. I haven't logged off yet. The hot smell of alcohol on Edmund's breath sprayed against the side of my neck, sounding almost like he was whining. He clamped my legs tightly between his, and I was completely unable to move. He pressed his hand against my belt. You promised you would reward me. Right now. The phone clattered to the ground. Edmund pinned me down, looking at me with absolute innocence, and repeated, Reward me. I gripped my belt for dear life, feeling like I was about to go crazy. Gavin had only taught me to keep my distance from straight guys, but he never said what to do if a straight guy threw himself at me. I really couldn't handle him staring at me like that, so I asked him, How do you want me to reward you? Edmund traced circles on my lips with his finger, then moved it an inch higher. Don't you know? Is this right? Could this be right? Edmund must have drunk himself into a blackout, right? Then no matter what happens tonight, will he? Chapter 3. Alarm bells rang wildly in my head, and I shook my head hard to snap out of it. When I opened my eyes again, I found that Edmund had fallen asleep on top of me. I instantly felt a profound sense of helplessness, like gearing up to make a huge mistake, only to find the other party was already dead to the world. I gave up on all those messy, chaotic thoughts and, resigned to my fate, hauled him up and helped him into bed. By the time I finished dealing with all this, it was already 1 a.m. Edmund rolled over and wrapped himself around me like he was hugging a giant plush toy. I struggled for a moment but was completely unable to move. Forget it, let it be. I was truly too exhausted. Straight guy or not, I didn't care anymore. In the end, I fell asleep with a mouthful of Edmund's hair. A dreamless night. It wasn't until dawn that Gavin started pounding furiously on the dorm room door. Charles, you're trending. Do you know that? My eyes snapped open from within Edmund's embrace. Oh crap. I scrambled out of bed, tumbling and crawling. My legs were so weak I almost fell to my knees in front of Gavin. Gavin, still in his pajamas and with messy hair, shoved his phone right into my face. Listen to this yourself. My live stream usually only has a few hundred viewers a day. How could I be trending? Completely bewildered, I opened the black screen video with subtitles. The pitch-shifted voices of Edmund and me went straight into my ears. Not right now, really. I haven't finished yet. Then let me go first. You promised to reward me yesterday. No, right now. Gavin grabbed his hair, put his hands on his hips, and looked around the room. Spit it out. Where did you hide that wild man? I still hadn't recovered from the shock of that audio recording. Yesterday, Edmund had been gripping my wrists the whole time. When the phone fell to the floor, I thought the stream had already ended. Gavin had always been worried about me getting tricked. Now that things had blown up like this, he was even more worried that the other guy had planned this all along. Right at that moment, one of the parties involved slowly poked his head out. His voice was hoarse as he asked, "That recording? Is it real?" Bad news. The secret was out. Good news. It was only half out. It was just me. I promised to treat Gavin to dinner tonight to discuss it in detail, coaxing and tricking him into finally leaving. When I turned back around, Edmund had already put on his black hoodie and climbed down from bed. He massaged his temples, dragging the progress bar to listen to that audio recording over and over again. You brought someone back to the dorm yesterday? Sure enough, he didn't remember a thing about last night. I breathed a sigh of relief for him. If he knew he had hugged a guy and demanded kisses while drunk, he would definitely be mortified. The sound of the chair being dragged was very clear in the video. Edmund listened to it again almost masochistically. Then he kicked his own chair and cursed under his breath. Fuck. So after I got drunk yesterday, you guys were right here, He grabbed his hair in despair. I became the sleeping husband. I picked up my broken phone, looking at him at a complete loss for what to do. That evening, at a food stall near the university, Gavin jumped up from his seat, a chicken drumstick still in his mouth. What? Who did you say? I quickly pulled him back down, leaning in close and keeping my voice low. Keep it down. You promised to keep it a secret. Gavin put down the drumstick and glared at me. Making me keep it a secret is one thing, but you're not even telling Edmund? What are you trying to do? Star in a tragic melodrama. I quickly pulled up the basketball team group photo from the group chat to show him. He's a straight guy. I figured less trouble is better than more trouble. It's actually perfect that he drank himself into a blackout and forgot. Who knew Gavin would just let out a cold sneer? I have a ton of female friends who link arms with me. Am I a straight guy too? He narrowed his eyes. Leave this to me. I want to see if this Edmund is truly straight. Gavin had another appointment that evening. When I returned to the dorm, Edmund wasn't there. But there was a brand new, latest model smartphone sitting on my desk. Thousands of dollars. That was almost my grandfather's living expenses for an entire year. I snapped a photo and sent it to Edmund, but accidentally exposed the red marks on my wrist in the picture. Edmund had gripped me too tightly last night, and the thin calluses on the webbing of his hands had rubbed marks onto my skin. I quickly recalled the message, but Edmund replied, "Take it. Just consider it my rent for staying here these past few days." I tried to decline several times, but Edmund never replied again. It wasn't until I finished my shower that I saw a link he had forwarded to me half an hour ago. Alert! 8 subtle signs of a potential domestic abuser. I poked his profile picture. Who talks about themselves like that? Because of the trending topic, the fan group chat was exceptionally lively today. Some fans had even started writing fanfiction about me and the assistant. I clicked them open to read. Through the cracked screen of my old phone, my face grew redder the more I read. Can't take it already? Stop shaking, you carved this with your own hands. You don't want this one? Then pick one yourself, but no regrets once you choose. I bit my blanket, feeling my lower abdomen grow a bit hot. Just as I was thoroughly engrossed, the admin deleted all the fanfiction in the group. He even added a tag to the group name. Green Internet. Civilized you and me. What a total buzzkill. I tapped on S profile. I also think they went too far. So, could you privately send me a copy of that fanfic? E instantly replied with a link. Shocking. The hazards of overindulgence are huge. Will you still dare to find a boyfriend after reading this? Fine, don't give it to me then. Cross me and consider yourself unlucky. I bit my blanket and fell asleep, dreaming of Edmund once again. Only this time, the scenes played out vividly like a movie. I rushed into the bathroom before dawn. When I came back and saw the empty dorm, it finally hit me that Edmund wasn't coming back. My mood plummeted to rock bottom. I stood on my tiptoes, pulled Edmund's pillow off his bed, and hugged it to my chest. He groped me all night and just left. Using his pillow isn't crossing the line, right? After throwing my little mental tantrum, I hugged the pillow and finally got a good night's sleep. This time there was no Edmund. I dreamed of the days I used to carve wood with my grandfather. My grandfather didn't have any grand skills. He raised my dad all the way to adulthood and marriage just by building furniture for people. Who knew that the year my mom got pregnant with me, the village flooded. My dad volunteered to help fight the flood and never came back. It wasn't until I was 5, during a heavy rainstorm that washed a lacquered amulet down from the mountain, that my dad's remains were finally found. The day the village chief brought a single-hand bone back to our house, my grandfather sat in the yard and carved peace amulets for an entire day. That was the day I officially started learning wood carving. The very first thing I carved was also a peace amulet. My grandfather had never gone to school. He didn't think the amulets were useless. He only blamed himself for not carving enough of them to protect his son. It seemed my grandfather's personality also began to soften from that point on. Before, if I got bullied, he would march me over to demand an explanation. After that, he gradually stopped standing up for me. Chapter 4. My pillow was soaked with tears, and when I woke up, my stomach was growling with hunger. I got up and had a simple lunch. Just as I returned to the bottom of the dorm building, Gavin suddenly called, his tone urgent. Charles, no matter where you are, don't go back to the dorm right now. Your trending topic was about to die down, but your 2 roommates leaked the name of our school. Now, there might be people waiting for you in the dorm. Before Gavin even finished speaking, the dorm room door was pushed open from the inside. The desks were a total mess, and my carving knives were gone. My bed was splashed with paint and completely trashed, looking like a violent incident had just occurred. Henry stood with his arms crossed over his chest, his expression twisted. Next to him was James, skinny as a beanpole. I told you it was him. Henry took a step forward and grabbed my collar. Do you think the school will expel you if they find out? He threw a punch right at my face. In a split second, it felt like I was transported back to my childhood, being cornered and beaten in an alleyway. I closed my eyes and waited for the pain, but it never came. Opening my eyes, I saw Edmund gripping Henry's fist, his face dark and gloomy. Why don't you think about whether you can leave here safely today first? I had heard that one of Edmund's former roommates was a friend of Henry's. Henry should know better than anyone how fiercely Edmund could fight. The scene was chaotic, so I grabbed Edmund and ran. His hand was injured, the knuckles a stark, bloody red. We need to treat this wound right away. Did you hit anything rusty? Do you need a tetanus shot? Did you bring your insurance card? I gently held his hand, extremely anxious. I looked up and realized Edmund was staring at me. He wrapped his large hand around mine. Charles, I have medicine at my place. Stop shaking. Only then did I realize I had overreacted. It seemed I had crossed a line. Why was I holding his hand? Another voice in my head retorted. What's wrong with good friends holding hands? I followed Edmund's shadow, struggling internally for ages, until I suddenly found myself standing at his front door. Why are you spacing out? Weren't you going to help me apply medicine? I took the medical kit and started treating the wound. I got injured often while doing wood carving, so I had quite a few scars on my hands. Treating a wound wasn't difficult for me. Charles. Just as I finished tying the bandage, Edmund suddenly called my name. This was the second time today. I looked up only to realize we were leaning very close. Our breaths intertwined. From afar, we probably looked like two birds snuggling together. My heart was beating so fast. I wondered if Edmund felt the same, but Edmund asked, when Henry threw that punch, why didn't you dodge? I swallowed hard. How was I supposed to explain? I couldn't beat them, so rather than resisting, it was better to just take the beating. They would naturally stop once they got bored. Do you think I'm really useless? Growing up, a lot of people had said that to me, but admitting this in front of Edmund still made me feel incredibly ashamed. After waiting a long time without hearing an answer, I tugged at the hem of my shirt, preparing to leave, but my wrist was suddenly grabbed. Did your boyfriend tell you that? I froze for a second before realizing he was talking about the person who was trending with me. Without waiting for my answer, Edmund pulled me down to sit. You're not useless. Resistance takes courage. But do you really think just enduring it will make things better? They treat you like this exactly because they think you'll just endure it. Charles, you really are too foolish. I looked at Edmund, unable to snap out of my daze for a long time. My grandfather always told me to endure it, to yield. Edmund was the only one who would say, Charles, why don't you fight back? You really are too foolish. There was no way to stay in the dorm, so I shamelessly stayed at Edmund's place. I curled up on the sofa and fell asleep. A dreamless night. Yet, when I woke up, I found myself lying in Edmund's arms. He hadn't woken up yet. A ray of sunlight peeked through the gap in the curtains and landed on my eyelashes. Yesterday, I slept hugging his pillow. Today, I was sleeping hugging the man himself. Charles, oh Charles, you are really getting bolder and bolder. I carefully tried to get up, but my hand slipped, and my face buried right into the crook of his neck. Edmund had a fresh, minty scent on him. I subconsciously took a sniff, and as soon as I lifted my head, I met his eyes perfectly. The atmosphere was incredibly awkward. Climbing into his bed was one thing, but sniffing him like a creep was another. I rubbed my nose. I'm sorry, I don't know how this happened. I've never sleepwalked before. Edmund didn't seem to care. He raised his arms, his voice lazy. Can you help me change my clothes? I helped him change with my eyes practically closed. During the process, Edmund asked, Does your boyfriend know you stayed at my place last night? With him throwing the word boyfriend around left and right, I was running out of lies to spin. I helped him straighten out his clothes and stammered. We broke up. Let's not talk about him. Edmund froze for a moment, and I quickly hid in the bathroom. I ran too fast, completely missing the look in his eyes behind me. Chapter 5. Back at the university, the dorm room was still a total mess. Edmund stood across from me, watching me. Are you still planning to live here? Wood carvings were scattered all over the floor, and the bed was covered in paint. I sighed, and Edmund continued. Having one more person at my place wouldn't be a problem. I turned to look at him as Edmund bent down to pack a half-finished wood carving into a box. We can add a bed in the bedroom, and put your workbench in the living room. You can stream as late as you want. Edmund probably didn't know how tempting his words were. Not having to worry about roommates causing trouble, being able to put my things wherever I want, and streaming until the early hours without anyone complaining. I leaned against the railing and asked, "What about rent? I don't like eating at the cafeteria. If you can cook, rent is completely free." I almost jumped up and hurriedly started packing my bags. "Don't worry, I started cooking at a very young age. My culinary skills are great." Edmund placed a round, chubby flying kitten ornament into the box without a word. I didn't have much stuff, so it only took Edmund one trip to move everything. Wood carving tools filled the workbench in the living room, and there was a tall white magnolia tree by the window. The only imperfection was that we hadn't bought a bed yet. While I was looking at folding beds online, my phone was snatched away by Edmund. "Charles, I'm hungry." I immediately went to the kitchen and stir-fried 3 dishes. That evening, Edmund bought 2 bottles of liquor, saying he wanted to celebrate my moving in. Remembering how he was the last time he got drunk, I hesitated to make a move. "What, you don't like drinking?" It wasn't that I couldn't drink. My grandfather and I both had a high tolerance and had never been drunk. But the same couldn't be said for Edmund. Seeing me stay silent, Edmund pushed the liquor aside. "My cousin doesn't like drinking either. Last time at the basketball team dinner, she only drank coconut water. I think I have some at home. I'll go get it." "Basketball team dinner? Cousin?" I caught the keywords and grabbed him to confirm. "Is that the girl standing next to you in the group photo?" Edmund froze. "How did you know?" I picked up my glass and downed it in one gulp. I looked calm on the surface, but my foot was unconsciously bouncing under the table. Who guessed? Edmund didn't suspect anything and drank a glass too. As a result, after just a few glasses, he went to the bathroom feeling dizzy. Afraid something might happen to him, I squatted by the door and waited. Bang! A loud noise came from the bathroom. Did he fall? I gripped my phone tightly and knocked gently on the door. There was the sound of running water inside, but no movement from Edmund. I gritted my teeth, just preparing to go in, when Gavin sent a string of messages. "Fuck! What the hell? Do you know why Edmund fought with his previous roommates? He was watching your live stream in the dorm and got caught by his roommates. He fought 3 of them alone, beat them all to the ground, and gave each of them 50,000 as hush money. I finally got the guy drunk enough to spit it out. By the way, you're not together with Edmund, are you?" I stared at my phone, my hand gripping it tightly. How could this be possible? Right at that moment, the bathroom door opened a crack, and Edmund suddenly pulled me into his arms. The bathroom was filled with steam, and I felt like I was suffocating. Edmund's clothes were soaked, the corners of his eyes were red, and he looked like he had sobered up. On the day of the live stream, the person who insisted on kissing you was me. This time it was my turn to freeze. I had heard that people could recover their memories if they repeatedly experienced a certain situation. But I didn't expect someone who had blacked out from drinking to be like this too. Did Edmund remember? I grabbed the bathroom door, but Edmund didn't give me a chance to escape, continuing his interrogation. "Was it, Charles?" My throat tightened. I opened my mouth but couldn't make a sound. Edmund suddenly leaned down and kissed me. Without the restraint of that day, being sober actually made him more urgent. I tilted my head back, only to be pressed tightly against his chest again. The moisture from his body rubbed onto me, getting me wet as well. It wasn't until I could barely stand steady that he took the towel from my hand and slowly wiped me. "Where did you get wet? Here, or here?" The 2 voices battling fiercely in my mind finally produced a winner. My consciousness blurred, and I didn't even know how I ended up falling asleep in the end. The next morning I woke up first. I got up, put 2 boiled eggs into Edmund's backpack, and left. Edmund called me twice, but I didn't answer either. No, this isn't right. I was just preparing to go find Gavin, but Henry beat me to it, blocking me in the classroom. "What? Edmund isn't with you today?" My hands were shaking non-stop, but I still looked up at him. "I've already gathered evidence and called the police about what happened last time. If you still want to look for trouble, we can settle everything together." People were coming and going in the classroom, but Henry didn't lower his volume. "Everyone come look. This is the big streamer from our school who got on the trending list." Humph. Fooling around with a guy and he doesn't even feel ashamed. Everyone was already feeling irritable during finals week. Hearing this, they all stopped in their tracks. Seeing this, Henry grabbed me by the back of my collar, getting more agitated the more he spoke. "It's him, streaming in the dorm every day. Who knows if he's having an affair with his top donator. My breathing grew increasingly rapid. Past experiences flashed through my mind like a movie, and the surrounding voices became piercing and blurry. Just then, someone suddenly punched Henry in the face, shattering all the chaotic sensations. Henry looked at me in disbelief. Only then did I realize that the one who threw the punch was actually me. Although I looked frail, I grew up doing carpentry work. My punch gave Henry a bloody nose. An inexplicable sense of excitement surged up. Edmund was right. Blindly enduring would only make others think I was easy to bully. Just as I was preparing to throw another punch, Edmund suddenly appeared and wrapped his arms around my waist. "Charles, look at me. Calm down, it's okay. Look at me." The moment I saw Edmund, it felt as if all the strength had been drained from my body. The voices in my ears also became clear. "Henry totally deserves it. He thinks he's all that just because he's a local, looking down on out-of-towners and scholarship students. Did we provoke him? Serves him right. Did you see that video he was talking about? Getting kissed by a roommate halfway through carving. I saw people saying it was from our school a couple of days ago, but I thought it was a rumor and argued with them for ages. What rotten luck." Henry lay on the ground, clutching his nose. "Damn it! I'm calling the police." Edmund pressed my shoulders and looked back at the people around us. Everyone immediately looked up at the ceiling and scattered away. "My phone is broken. I didn't film anything." Weren't we going to get food just now? Look at my memory. I can't even remember what's on the exam tomorrow. What could I possibly tell the cops if they came? Henry, honestly, you're a grown man. How could you just run into a wall like that? I used to think that everyone disliked me, and I had long been accustomed to hiding in a corner and living quietly by myself. But I never expected that these people I had only met a few times would actually be willing to stand on my side. Edmund pulled me up, then delivered a kick to Henry's stomach. "If you want to call the cops, come find me. I'll humor you anytime." Chapter 6. Edmund pulled me all the way back to his house. He knelt on the floor, carefully applying anti-swelling ointment to my wounds. "Anything you want to say?" I bit my lip and turned my head away. Hitting people is wrong, but if I had to do it again, I would still teach him a lesson. Edmund raised his hand and patted my head. "You did great, Charles, really?" I turned my head to look at him. "But next time, I want you to protect yourself better." Just 2 steps away from him was a utility knife, and there was a security camera right across from the door in the hallway. "If he had refused to let you go, were you confident you could get away?" I hadn't thought of any of the things he said. He had considered everything I hadn't thought of. "As long as you're okay, you still have me." When I was forced to have our relationship exposed in front of all those people, I didn't cry. When I fought Henry, who was much stronger than me, I didn't cry. But when Edmund said, "You still have me," my nose suddenly stung. I wanted to throw myself into Edmund's arms, but he suddenly dodged. "Isn't there still something we haven't cleared up?" I grasped at air, looking at him in disappointment. "You were avoiding me today. Did you actually never want to be with me?" Those words were like a basin of cold water poured over my head. I looked up in surprise. "No, I didn't. Edmund was still kneeling on the floor, but he grabbed my hand tightly. "Then swear that you love me." At this point, I couldn't hide my feelings anymore. I forcefully pulled my hand back, though my voice was very small. I do like you, but Edmund, I don't have any money." Actually, I had thought these words in my heart countless times. I liked Edmund. I liked his free-spirited bravery, liked how he always stood behind me to support me and guide me to be brave. But I had nothing. The hush money he casually handed out was $50,000. I would have to carve a whole box, maybe even 10 boxes of wooden kittens just to earn that much. Today had already been embarrassing enough, so I simply laid it all out. I stream to sell wood carvings, and I only make about $2,000 a month. $800 goes to living expenses, the rest is used to buy wood, and whatever is left after that gets sent to my grandpa. If you date me, I can't give you anything. Edmund fell silent for a long time. Suddenly, he stood up and buried his face in my chest. Charles, are you going to carve kittens to provide for me? I didn't feel it when I said it myself, but hearing Edmund say it suddenly made me feel incredibly embarrassed. Tage, that's what I mean. Do you understand? Stop liking me, Edmund. Edmund rested his head on my shoulder, his breath blowing against my neck, tickling me. I refuse. You like me, but you won't let me like you? That makes no sense. Tell the truth, is that fair to me? I was dizzy from him kissing me, my thoughts following his lead. Was it fair? I didn't know. I only knew that night, I desperately wanted to hold on to him in the dark. When the moon rose to the treetops, I was just glad Edmund hadn't read those fanfictions. Otherwise, I would truly be finished. I was incredibly sore, so I headed back home early the next morning. Pushing the door open, I just remembered there was still one order I hadn't finished. Since trending last time, I hadn't streamed in a long time. The moment I logged into my stream, I was almost lagged out by the influx of viewers. Mamotu, you're finally back. We thought you were too busy dating and forgot about us. To the person above, even if Mamotu is dizzy from being kissed, he hasn't dropped his work. His work ethic is super strong. Okay. He used to say it was just a roommate. TSK. Normal roommates aren't like that. Holding my carving knife, I chatted idly with everyone. E recently ordered an ocean wave wood carving, a design from a long time ago. I was so focused on the wave gradually taking shape in my hands that I didn't even notice Edmund coming home. Carrying the chill of the night, he slipped into my arms for warmth. I was startled, and my hand slipped, carving too deep. I quickly told him to let go. Who knew that instead of backing off, he pulled a customized anti-cut finger sleeve from his bag and motioned for my hand. I glanced at the screen and quickly extended my hand. My tools used to be very simple. A scrap piece of wood and a utility knife were enough. But now, my desk was piled high with all sorts of expensive tools Edmund had bought for me. I returned to the camera wearing the finger sleeve, and sure enough, I was spotted. Oh ho! Which little wood carving genius is this? Didn't you say before that they were uncomfortable and refused to wear anti-cut gloves even when you cut your hands? What do you know? Is it the same once you're dating? Even if you don't feel bad for yourself, someone else does. Since the trending incident, the chat had gotten bolder and bolder. To make matters worse, Edmund was watching right beside me. My face flushed bright red. After making the final cut, I hurriedly ended the stream. What's wrong? Is the size not right? I had it custom made. Edmund, the instigator of it all, looked at me with absolute innocence. He clearly knew that I couldn't get mad at him when looking at that face. I lowered my head and continued carving. It's very comfortable. It's just that I accidentally carved too deep here, so I might have to remake it. Edmund took a look. Ocean waves naturally have deep and shallow parts. No one will care. Even so, I still felt a bit bad about it. While Edmund went to take a shower, I opened my private chat with E. There was a slight accident with the order. Is it okay if I ship it a couple of days late? E didn't reply. I scrolled up through our chat history. The last time we talked was when I asked him for the fanfiction. I saw that your shipping address from last time is at the same university as me. Once I remake it, how about I deliver it directly to your dorm? I don't know if the words shipping address triggered an automated setting. An automated reply popped right up in the chat box. The name and phone number looked fake, but the address was 368 Yuanlin Road. Wait, 368 Yuanlin Road? I dashed forward and pushed open the front door. The cold wind in the hallway made me shiver. How could it be here? My mind was in complete chaos as I held the carving knife, slowly filing away at the wood. Chapter 7. Speaking of which, he was considered one of my earliest fans. When I started my first live stream in 9th grade, he was there. Back then, there were only 3 people in the stream. Seeing someone enter, I called out his ID to greet him, but instead, I ended up scaring him away. I didn't mind it at the time, though. I just lowered my head and carved a piece of the ocean on a basswood board. As the carving knife rose and fell, the waves of the seawater gradually took shape. Under the aqua blue paint was a layer of light white paint. From afar, it looked incredibly real. After carving for a whole day, I stretched my back and looked up, only to realize the stream was still on. E had actually come back and stayed in my stream for the entire day. I thought this person was quite interesting, so I sent him a giveaway link. He didn't reply. I told him the prize was the ocean wave wood carving I had just finished. He directly sent over his shipping address. In exchange, he became the admin of my very first fan group. It's just that he seemed very busy and only became active recently. Buying my wood carvings, paying attention to my love life, confiscating fanfiction in the group chat, and even posting a non-disclosure announcement the exact moment my school's name was exposed. Were all these things actually done by Edmund? In the moment my mind wandered, I failed to control the force of the carving knife, and blood immediately seeped from my finger. Why aren't you wearing the finger sleeve? Don't touch it. I'll go get the medical kit. The pain in my hand had grown numb. I grabbed the hem of Edmund's shirt. Don't go. I have something to ask you. I had never asked Edmund why he paid attention to my streams or why he liked me. I was afraid. Afraid of hearing an answer I didn't want to hear. Gavin had said that the circle was very messy, more complex than I imagined. Some people seek novelty, others seek thrills. Love doesn't last long. It's just a temporary anesthesia. When he heard that Edmund and I were living together, he only told me to protect myself. I looked at Edmund kneeling on the floor bandaging me and nudged his leg with my knee. You haven't answered yet. Why do you like me? Edmund lowered his head. I saw the message you sent. Mama too. Pat pat. I picked at my fingers, quietly watching him. Do you know why everyone calls you Mama too? You might not have noticed, but every time you finish carving something, you pet their heads, as if they are truly keeping you company. I hadn't even noticed these things myself. But after Edmund pointed them out, it felt as if those past moments were dyed in warm, gentle colors. During the time my parents were getting a divorce, I watched your stream every day, watching you slowly grind away with your carving knife. The first time you accidentally showed your face, behind you was a whole wall of amulets that would rattle when the wind blew. Charles, it was the first time I saw that kind of look in someone's eyes. Clear and determined, yet carrying a gentleness. I had some impression of the time he mentioned. I was carving amulets with my grandpa and hadn't adjusted the phone's angle properly. I only realized the camera was facing me after I finished carving. But I had few fans back then, so I didn't care. I didn't expect Edmund to have seen it all. My body slid down, almost leaning directly into his embrace. I never thought that those moments no one cared about were actually being carefully collected and treasured by someone. Edmund gently brushed aside my bangs and lowered his head to kiss my forehead. Charles, it seems you never knew just how precious you are. Chapter 8. When Edmund took me to the train station, he kept dawdling, unwilling to leave. With a steamed bun in my mouth, I pulled him outside. Just last night, he was talking dirty and tossing me around until midnight, but today he was keeping his head down and staying silent. I took a sip of water from his hand. I have to go home to spend the new year with my grandpa. Don't be unhappy. I used to think Edmund was an aloof and cold person, but I didn't expect him to be clingier than the neighbor's kitten. Edmund didn't speak. When he walked me to the gate, he hugged me tightly. During the new year, there were a lot of orders. At home, besides cooking and streaming, I spent my time on the phone with Edmund. His parents came back from abroad to spend the new year with him, but he didn't seem very happy. I found a quiet corner and sought praise from him. Edmund, I prepared a New Year's gift for you. Amazing, right? Edmund seemed to have found a quiet spot as well, his voice lazy. The courier services are all suspended. How are you going to give it to me? Charles, are you writing bad checks? I knew he would say that, so I put my hands on my hips and directed him. Is the bag where you usually keep your shirts nearby? Footsteps came from the other end of the phone, and I continued. Open your favorite navy blue shirt and take a look. Before leaving school, I had secretly carved an amulet for him. I chose black walnut wood, drew the characters for the amulet many times, and was extremely careful when carving it. I had carved so many amulets for the father I had never met. This was the first time I had carved one for my lover. The phone went quiet for a long time, and I got a bit anxious. What's wrong? Did you not bring it home? Or can't you find it? Then after school starts, I'll make you another one. Edmund suddenly interrupted me. Charles, I miss you. I didn't know if the wind was just strong outside, but my nose instantly turned red. Seeing that I hadn't gone inside for a long time, my grandpa lifted the door curtain and asked, Got a partner? Why didn't you bring them home for New Year's Eve dinner? Grandpa never had many demands of me, but if he knew my partner was a boyfriend, would he still be this tolerant? Before he turned to go back inside, I spoke up, Grandpa, if it's a guy, can I still bring him back for dinner? Grandpa's footsteps paused. It took a long time before he turned around. What? Do boys not eat? Boys gotta eat too. My nose stung even more. I crouched on the ground, only then realizing that Edmund hadn't hung up the phone. He suddenly asked, Can you see the clock tower from where you are? I turned around and nodded, though the direction of the clock tower was pitch black. The hands pointed to 12 o'clock, and the sound of firecrackers rose and fell. Just as I was about to wish Edmund a happy new year, fireworks suddenly shot up from the direction of the clock tower. The sound of fireworks came through the receiver, and Edmund pressed close to the phone. Charles, Happy New Year. Looking at the sky full of fireworks, I said softly, Edmund, Happy New Year. Epilogue, Edmund's POV. When my parents divorced, they each tried to outdo the other with the amount of child support they offered. But neither of them actually wanted me. While they were arguing in the living room, I was curled up on the sofa with my headphones on, and I stumbled upon a live stream with only one viewer online. As soon as I clicked in, the streamer read my ID out loud. Welcome Mama 2, Pat Pat. I was so spooked I immediately swiped away. A grown man being told pat pat. It was sickeningly sweet. Even my own mother had never coaxed me like that. My finger hovered over the screen in hesitation for a few seconds before I swiped back. This time he didn't speak. The camera was pointed at a wooden board. The veins on the back of the hand holding the carving knife were prominent. With a few seemingly casual strokes, an ocean wave took shape. Without realizing it, I watched for an entire day. When Can't Touch the Head ended the stream, he sent over a giveaway link that looked completely fake. But he said he wanted to give me the ocean wave wood carving he had just finished, so I immediately sent over money and my shipping address. He didn't accept the money. Instead, he sent a message asking me to be an admin. Please, it won't be very busy. I can gift you whatever you want. I figured he didn't have many fans anyway, so I just treat it as doing him a favor. From then on, whenever I had free time, I would leave his live stream running, treating it as white noise. Over time, I noticed he had a little habit. Every time he finished carving something, he would gently pat the top of the wood carving, muttering something under his breath. That was the reason I called him Mama2, Pat Pat. But he thought it was just because his username had the word touch, MO, in it. So stupid. Stupid yet endearing. One time he forgot to flip the camera. I put down my pen and stared at the screen for a long time. At that moment, I suddenly wanted to be patted on the head by him too. I cleared out a study room specifically to store the wood carvings he sent me. Until one day, I realized his shipping address was at my very own university. That same night, I applied for dorm housing. There weren't many people live streaming in the dorms. It shouldn't take long to find him, but I didn't expect things to go so smoothly. That day in the dorm, I heard someone next door curse right after hanging up the phone. Hey, do you guys know that streaming sissy in Henry's dorm? Yeah, the one with the really narrow waist. His name is Charles, right? I swear he's the biggest freak in the whole school. Putting on an act with a piece of junk wood. Who knows how many fans he's secretly slept with behind the scenes. It's truly bad luck being in the same school as someone like that. Oh right. New guy. Have you heard of him? I threw a punch right then and there. The others came up to break up the fight, and I gave them a punch each too. In the end, I gave them 50,000 each in hush money, treating it as their reward for helping me find him. I'm a lightweight. I black out after just 2 drinks. The day Charles moved in, I still brought over 2 bottles of liquor. When I had drank until my head was spinning, I ran to the bathroom and threw up violently. Suddenly, an unfamiliar image flashed through my mind. Was that me? I was actually clinging to him, begging for kisses? The words I said were even exactly the same as the ones written in that fanfiction online. I sobered up instantly and pulled Charles into the bathroom to confirm. His lips were soft. I had definitely kissed them before. It turned out that everything written in those fanfictions was actually the real me. The next day, I made a decision and posted all the fanfictions I had previously reported and deleted back into the group chat. When Charles came online, he liked them. I knew it, he definitely liked them. Charles bought a train ticket to go home tomorrow. He was leaving me behind. The hug right before he left was something I had to force out of him. He told me to have a good new year, and even made sure to call me right on the dot to wish me a happy new year. He stuffed a thick red envelope into the pocket of my favorite shirt. $1,000, his entire month's living expenses. Inside the bulging red envelope, there was also a gold-lined amulet. When my parents divorced, neither of them wanted me. Only Charles would wish me peace and health. The staff at the drum tower called to confirm the time to set off the fireworks. Charles had mentioned before that looking out from his house, all he could see were mountains. The only light he could see was from the drum tower. If I set off a fireworks display for him at the drum tower, he should be able to see it, right? I hope the fireworks can carry my blessings to him. Happy New Year, Charles. EW. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.